So without further ado, Effie Terry.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks. I'll just really quick story. When I first met Michael, I was like blown away by his energy. I'm like, and we connected right away, and we're like, I felt like I knew him all my life, and I was like, I need to be connected with this man because you're incredible. So thank you for doing this today. Really, no, seriously. So my name's Effie Terry. I came, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and then a story. So for 27 years, I was what's called a production manager at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I handled the money and the muffins, mostly for large sporting events, so Olympics, that kind of stuff. And I did organization. I retired in 2018. I started when I was 21, so I had the years. And I started doing nothing, just kind of organizing my house, heard about Marie Kondo. I'm like, I want a trip to New York, and I think this is fun. I had no intention to become an organizer, did Marie Kondo's course, and I was hooked. And I don't only do Marie Kondo, because I started working in homes, and I realized that people have challenges, and challenges that I don't know about, such as neurodiversity, hoarding tendencies. So I went searching for all the education I could find, and I landed at the Professional Organizers in Canada, as well as the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. That is a place, and it's a place where you can learn all things about organization. So I learned about ADHD, I learned about traumatic brain injury, I learned about aging issues, and it's amazing. My clients all were so different, and I only saw the tip of the iceberg. So I would have to, someone has ADHD, I would have to pull out of my bucket of skills my ADHD strategy. So I had to work with people's brains and people's connection to stuff, because some people have a really hard time parting with things. So why I'm here today at the Legacy Expo, I work also with clients at the end of life. And again, education is my jam. And I'm going to do the doula course, not because I want to be an end-of-life doula, but because I really want to take a deep dive and understand what happens at the end of life for the clients that I'm helping to organize. And when I go into people's homes and people are like, you're not going to make me get rid of my stuff. And I'm like, no, I won't, because you might call me tomorrow and be really angry with me. So you have to build trust, especially when you're working with people, with seniors. So I do want to tell you a little story. It's a true story, and I'm currently working since the beginning of this year with a client at the end of life. And we have to also be careful as organizers, because we fall in love with our clients and we get attached, and so we have to sort of, but anyways, this client is lovely. She's her illness has come back, and she's decided to take, she has a MAID provision. So does everybody know what a MAID provision is? Medically assisted death. So that's her choice. And when I first heard about MAID, I was like, wow, that's really sad. But this client, and whatever your beliefs are, and I have my beliefs and I don't bring them in, but this empowered this client to have agency over choice in her life. So whatever the choice is that my clients want to make, that's what she's done. Whether she takes it or not, that's none of my business, but I'm there to help her. So over the last year, she has been downsizing her things with intentionality. So she has paintings, she's passed those along to some loved ones. She loved animals, so I've helped facilitate, and no pun intended, Marie Kondo, I'm the conduit to having these things move along. So a bunch of her possessions were donated to a dog rescue charity to raise money, and these are things that are important to her, and they've given her a lot of joy to be able to do this. And so as people go through maybe the end of life, it has to be on their schedule and with their, on their timing. So she is an artist, and our last session, she said, I'm ready to part with canvases, but not brushes. And so it's really important when we're helping, if you're helping someone at the end of life, helping someone through a life transition, it has to be at their pace, and you can't force anyone. The most important thing, because I have a mom who's 81, she's like, okay, Effie, I'm ready for you to help me downsize, but you can't judge me for what I've kept all these years. So if you are helping a parent or a loved one, you have to really go at it without judgment, and the most important thing is to build trust, and to hear their stories, and to really because the scariest thing for seniors, and this is in the studies that I've done and what I've experienced, is that they don't want their past to be erased. And so they listen to the stories, help document their stories, and that will get you further than going in and saying, why did you hang on to that, doily and that frying pan? And because people will just put their backs up. So that's what I do, and I help people to transition and to maybe see? I'm out of time. That's it. I'm done. Okay, what I want to say is I want to finish with, I'm still supposed to be on slide. Hey, try to live in the present. Try the bulk of the things you're hanging on to are things you need now, things that bring you joy, are beautiful and useful. Hang on to a few things from the past, a few things from the future, and not too many aspirational items, because sometimes we have to say, I'm not going to be a golfer anymore. I'm not going to ski anymore. I'm not hanging on to that because I'm going to be in the Great Canadian Baker Show. So the most of your things, again, think intentionality in the present, a few things from the past and a few things from the future, and you'll be just fine. And patience. Pack your patience if you're helping a loved one downsize. I'm over there at the table if you have any questions. Thank you.
My name is Catherine Ashton. I am a grief counselor, a grief recovery method specialist, and a grief educator. I am also the chapter leader for GRASP in Ontario for people who have lost loved ones to substance abuse. Life can change in a minute, an ordinary instant. 1 minute the sun is shining, and the next you're standing in a room with EMS workers, the fire department, and the police. The words, "It was sudden, he felt no pain," echoing through your head. 7 years ago today, I lost my brother. 7 years ago today, I screamed my brother's name as I held his lifeless body. Sadly, it was too late. He was gone. My heart shattered into a million pieces. My life forever changed. I now belong to the club that no one wants to be a member of. I am grieving. I'm the one left behind when the funeral is over to deal with my pain alone. The word grief to many is scary, but grief is normal and natural reaction to the loss of any kind. Grief is the most powerful of all emotions. It is also the most neglected and misunderstood. Unfortunately, grief has become socialized and believed that grief is abnormal, and to some, grief means you're broken and need to be fixed. And that's why everyone has so much advice for you when you're grieving. Words and phrases like, stay strong, and they're in a better place. Only minimize the emotional turmoil that someone who is grieving is feeling and further isolates them. Telling someone to stay strong sends a message that to feel sadness is to be weak. After my brother's funeral, a work colleague said to me, well, at least he's now in a better place. To which I responded, do you have his address? I believe how we deal with grief is learned as a child. I grew up in a household where when someone died, we never spoke of their name for fear of upsetting our loved ones. When I was 20, my father died due to substance abuse. For 2 whole days, my family and I sat vigil at his bedside. When my father took his last breath, I sat beside him in silence, trying to comprehend the enormous pain I was experiencing while struggling to accept that a part of me died with him. As a family, we rallied around our mother. We were so focused on her well-being that we put aside our pain. We went into survival mode and stayed there for over 40 years. To this day, we still have not spoken of the horrific final moments of our father's death and the pain we continue to carry. When you lose a loved one to substance abuse, it leaves the families of the deceased feeling tremendous guilt and shame. My father's death left me with so many conflicting feelings because of the social stigma associated with his death. I felt isolated and made to feel I didn't have the right to grieve. I also felt the need to protect my father's dignity, so I never disclosed to anyone how he died until today. Sadly, like my father, my brother also died due to addiction. Like so many others, he fought his addiction, but at the age of 49, his addiction took his life along with his hopes and dreams. My brother's death had a profound effect on me. I began to notice that not only was I grieving the death of my brother, but I was also carrying years of pain and trauma over my father's death. You see, grief has no expiration date. And as soon as I realized in order to help myself, I needed to acknowledge my grief and unpack my pain. So I took my pain and turned it into purpose and went back to school to learn everything I could about grief and dying. What I discovered was that society makes it too easy for someone to hide their grief. Fear of being stigmatized can prevent someone from openly discussing how their loved one died, especially when it involves death due to substance abuse and suicide. These complex emotions are often overwhelming for friends and family to understand, so avoidance is often the answer. But the truth is, the greatest gift you could give someone grieving is to be a heart with ears. Taking the time to listen by acknowledging and witnessing their pain without judgment and can help guide those grieving to move through their pain freely, so that they can cherish the positive memories of their loved ones and learn to carry those memories in their hearts forever. Don't be afraid to say their loved one's name. They were more than their addiction. They were love. They left their footprints on your heart. Thank you.
Talk about that real quickly. I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to say what you got to say, because I think it's important.
Thank you very much, Michael, for this moment. In June, I do have an Aging Wellness Conference coming up. It's at the Royal Botanical Gardens in Burlington, which is kind of where I'm stationed. And it came about, it's called the Evergreen Vitality Summit, and it came about as I was chatting with a colleague who is also an advanced care planner, and she's also a registered nurse, and we found that our healthcare system is quite reactive instead of proactive, which is causing a lot of issues. And so what we wanted to do was, instead of having the community come find their resources within it, we wanted to bring the resources to the community through a conference setting. And with this, we engaged thought leaders to provide speaking engagements at this event as well, and have a vendor area as well. So I have some information at my table if you would like to come and check it out. It is for mature adults, because even 70, 80-year-olds don't like to be called seniors. And so we were very mindful of the language that we used, but our whole idea is that we want to teach people to live well so that they can feel well and eventually age well. So thank you very much, Michael.